Know how that happened. Can you hear me now? Thumbs up. Great, thanks. Well, just my intro again. My name's Katie. I know a lot of you here, but for those who don't know me, my name is Katie. I'm the Director of Development and Communications. Super, super excited to have you here for our first edition of Toast Talks for 2026. We're going to be going through some highlights from our last fiscal year, which, as you probably know, was our 140th anniversary year, and our annual report that was released today. We're going to be going through some stats and some metrics about our work and lots of stories about how dignity, belonging, and justice inform what we do and how we do it. We're going to highlight our financials from last year, which, spoiler alert, are very positive. And we're going to share a short film that we had made last year about our work. There's a lot more that happened last fiscal year that won't be captured today in Toast Talks, so I do encourage you to read through the annual report and dig into some more of those stories and successes. We're going to wrap up with a few announcements and updates. And of course, don't forget our AGM is taking place at 5:30 today after this, and it is on a different Zoom link, but we will share that link with you at the end. Just to get us started, I want to acknowledge that our work takes place on the unceded, stolen, and traditional lands of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh peoples. That's where I'm located today. And if you're on the lands of other nations, I do invite you to drop into the chat whose land you're on. The downtown east side is known as Kum-Kum-Alai, and it means the land of many maple trees. And, if you walk around the neighborhood now, we don't see many maple trees anymore. The neighborhood has changed and it's adapted. We've built up the land, but recalling its traditional Squamish name really grounds us in the roots of this land. And we're going to give a few more details later in Toast Talks. But last week, the house posts were installed in front of our new building, one carved by an artist from each host nation. And being there and being able to bear witness to those posts being erected was so moving and so meaningful. Some of the carvers were there too, so Brent Sparrow and Floyd Joseph, and we got to share that experience with them. And so reflecting on that experience of these beautifully carved posts from host nation artists that stand proud and welcoming right in front of our new building, we can understand that the land has changed. There might not be maple trees here anymore, but the land is and always has been stewarded by Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh people. And we're just so grateful to carry on our work here, serving the community and continuing on our journey of putting reconciliation into action by honoring those host nations. And I invite you to join me in recognizing that and giving thanks too. So like I said, we're looking back on our last fiscal year and going through some highlights from our annual report. You can find it on our website. You should have received it in an email this morning, and you're going to get a print copy shortly. But just to kick us off, I thought we could go through some of the kind of facts and figures from last year. There's a lot of stats here and a lot of things that we're incredibly proud of. So to dive in, we served over 115,000 meals through our food truck and at our shelter and through snacks distributed at our help desk. If anyone here served a meal through our food truck last year, pop it into the chat along with one word you would use to describe the experience. We absolutely love having groups and volunteers join us at the food truck because it's a really joyful experience. The kitchen crew have their music playing, people are happy, and the impact is just so clearly understandable. Everyone knows what it's like to be hungry. Everyone knows humans have to eat. But we've gotten a lot of positive feedback from people who've helped us serve meals that it changes the way that they experience and think about the downtown east side, this community, and what it means. And I think that's really what hits home is that, of course, we are all the same. We are all humans. This neighborhood might not be what one thinks it is, really kind of changing those hearts and minds. And our kitchen team does such an excellent job at meeting, that most basic human need for thousands of people every year. And plus, what you might not know is that we don't only feed people. So our kitchen team saw that there were folks regularly in line with dogs. They have their, canine companion with them. And so Bert, our kitchen manager, he kind of brought that to the team and said, I want to have kibble for dogs. Dogs need to eat too. And so we started doing that. So anybody who comes to the food truck can not only get fed themselves, but make sure that their dog pet friend can be fed as well. And I just really, really love that. In taxes, as you can see, we had our biggest year ever. We filed over 6,000 taxes and over $2.9 million was returned to the pockets of low-income community members. This is huge. It's incredible. For a point of comparison, the year before we filed about 4,500 taxes. So it's an increase of over 1,500. And we're so, I think, flabbergasted, but also really proud that we can do this because it speaks to the need of the service in the community. We really attribute the increase that we have seen in recent years, and especially this past year, to the fact that we have an excellent reputation for this program. Other service providers refer their clients to us so regularly. And then, of course, there's word of mouth among community members that really drives the growth of this. We help people, both in the downtown east side and folks in correctional institutions and hospital, and folks who are low income from outside of this neighborhood. Our staff work really hard year round, and especially during tax season, but it pays off because we know that the benefits and the refunds that people receive makes a clear and tangible difference in people's lives. It allows them to pay their rent, buy their groceries, and take care of themselves and their families. And of course, it's currently tax season right now, so our staff and our volunteers are working really hard. Keely Hale, our Director of Community Services, shared that from March 3rd to 9th, they did over 500 tax intakes. So it's already shaping up to be another really busy year. In our shelter, we helped 19 residents move into safe, affordable, and appropriate housing. We're grateful, we're happy that we have a shelter for folks because it's needed. If someone needs a place to stay for a night, they need a place to stay. But we also know that a shelter is not the end solution. Everybody deserves a permanent, safe home. And our shelter staff take a lot of deep care working with residents to ensure that we're finding the best fit for them. We never want to set somebody up for failure by placing somebody in a unit that isn't going to be a right fit, that isn't a right match. And so what that can look like is, if there's a senior with mobility issues, it wouldn't be appropriate to place them in a walk-up building where they're going to have accessibility challenges. Other times, the neighborhood that somebody's in can really play a role. Some people will thrive if they're away from the downtown east side, and others will succeed if they stay here because this is where their community is. And our case planners and shelter staff put a lot of care and thoughtfulness into making sure that people are going to be able to land softly, be able to settle and find stability. And it's really a huge joy for us and for the residents when we find that right fit for them. In spiritual care, the program provides culturally safe and trauma-informed care with the message that everyone's spirit deserves to be cared for. Our team shows up by providing fellowship at the food truck when we're serving lunch, leading healing activities through art at the shelter. They do monthly prayer and smudging and attending really important cultural events like the Mother's Day and the Father's Day powwows. And, whether it's grief support, pastoral care, expressive arts, our spiritual care staff tend to anyone and everyone's spirit. They also do a lot of work with and for and in collaboration with other communities of faith and the broader First United community on education. And so some of you are probably familiar with this, but for a few years now, Reverend Lauren Sanders, our spiritual care manager, she created Advent and Christmas calendars that provide prompts and readings for reflection and encourage people to take meaningful daily action to create change together. And so last fiscal year, her calendar focused on the theme of Indigenous housing justice, and it was really well received. Something that I really like kind of seeing and celebrating as, the director of development and communications is that the calendar continues to be our most visited page on our website during December. Year after year, this happens, and this is just really excellent to see that people are digging in and engaging with it. You can see some other stats here. And like I said, we're really proud of how many people we're serving and supporting in different ways. But what these numbers don't really kind of capture are the stories. And it's the stories that really drive home why we do what we do. And that's really to uphold dignity, belonging, and justice in this neighborhood. So when we talk about dignity, that means people's most basic human needs are met, that an individual's inherent value is seen, that human rights are upheld. We do that a lot of different ways through serving meals, providing shelter, reversing overdoses, and making sure that people have, clothing and toiletries that they need every day. And you can see at the bottom of this slide here, when I think of dignity, I think of. And so we had asked our staff, our board, and members of our community what dignity meant to them. The one that always really lands for me is my meal is not rushed. It's so simple, but it speaks to the environment that's created and a way of working rather than any one specific action. This is what we mean when we talk about our dignity, our pillars of dignity, belonging, and justice. It's as much as about how we do the work as it is what we do. Last year, one way that dignity showed up for us was through our emergency weather response. So early in the winter, we put out a call for in-kind donations of winter items like blankets, sleeping bags, gloves, scarves. You folks will probably remember these call outs. I imagine many of you probably even donated some of these items. We had dozens of folks from communities of faith, corporate partners, and individuals who answered that call. And we had a really great, really large inventory of winter essentials that were ready for distribution. In February, we heard that snowfall was coming, so we prepared to hold a pop-up distribution of cold weather items at Oppenheimer Park, just down the street from us. And, concurrently with this, Amanda was speaking to the media about the lack of warming centers to meet the needs of the people in the community and how this was an especially urgent problem because just a few months before the 2024 homeless count had been released, and it showed a 32% increase in homelessness in Metro Vancouver. But once the snow came, we packed up all of our inventory and we brought it over to Oppenheimer. That day, our staff and our volunteers distributed over 800 items. And that was 350 toques, 51 emergency kits with waterproof sleeping bags from the Zach Pack project, 88 pairs of waterproof vesties, 100 scarves, 100 socks, countless pairs of gloves. These are the essentials that people need to exist. Being able to be warm and comfortable is dignity. And we also shared what we had with other service providers like Overdose Prevention Society and Aboriginal Front Door Society. We know that other organizations don't have the same kind of reach or network that we do. We're incredibly lucky to have such an incredible group of supporters behind us and helping out. And it's really important to us that we work with other organizations to share our resources, to collaborate when we know that we'll make a greater impact in the community. At the end of the day, our goal is just to make sure that items get to the people who need them. And it doesn't matter if it's us handing it out or OPS or Aboriginal Front Door or anyone else. And we're really excited that we've continued this tradition of cold weather distribution. So since January of this year, we've held 8 distribution days over at Oppenheimer, including one this morning in the rain. And we've handed out over 1,600 winter essentials. since January. We're so grateful. We know so many of you on this call today donated items to help us do that. So many people show up to volunteer and help us distribute those things. And so just thank you truly from the bottom of our hearts for helping us uphold dignity in these really core important ways in the downtown east side. So for belonging, I'm going to invite our executive director, Amanda Burrows, to share some stories and reflections on belonging. Over to you, Amanda. Is Amanda on the call?
I am now. Hi everybody. I like a little anticipation there. I wasn't able to unmute. I just want to thank all of you for coming. Oh my gosh. Every year, 6 years exactly since COVID started and we started gathering on this way and continue this tradition. And my heart is just so full. And as we're going to reflect a bit on belonging, it needs to really start with how much our community in here and gathering this way creates that sense of belonging amongst us on staff, our volunteers, our board, who I want to give a huge shout out to right now. Our AGM is following this Toast Talk. And so we have our board gathered at 312 Main Street, hanging out, watching this online too, before we get into business at 5:30. So thanks everybody for attending. So appreciate it. And thank you, Katie, for holding space and kicking us off with dignity. As you know, our vision here at First United, as we just come off 140th birthday, is to be a neighborhood where the worth of every person is celebrated and all people thrive, doing it through our three principles of dignity, belonging, and justice. All of them being equal here, I get to highlight belonging a bit. And so often when we say belonging, what I want to say is what we mean here is that people feel safer. People feel culturally safer. People feel like they can worship how they want or not, love who they want, that they're not shooed away and there isn't stigma. And one of those ways at First United we really want to highlight belonging is around our cultural safety and art. And so that's why representation matters so much. We highlight that art is a great way for us and communities to share our culture and stories. And that's why we have decided to incorporate so much Indigenous art from our host nations on the exterior of our new building that is being constructed right now, as you hear about often and Katie referenced with the house posts. Because we believe who is included and who is excluded and who is even creating the art matters. And so when histories of erasure have happened on these lands and come alive for centuries, we knew that the inclusion of public art on our building was linked to reconciliation, therefore linked to healing, which is what we seek in this community. The 6 artists that the one on the slide right now, you actually see Mac Paul of Musqueam and Deborah Sparrow of Musqueam, who are 2 of the artists. There's 6 artists in total on this project, and they're actually doing a blanketing on one of our donors and hosts, Bruce Wright, at a wonderful reception to kick off this art campaign. And as Katie mentioned that they were installed last week, I know we're reflecting on the previous fiscal year, but I have to share this story, and you're probably going to end up hearing it a lot more times, but you get to hear it first. Is that during the installation, if you remember, this has been a very mild winter, very mild. And one day last week it wasn't, though it snowed. And so the day that we were installing these house posts was the day it was snowing. And everybody was frankly annoyed and frustrated and concerned and cold. But the moment was so powerful in this installation that sort of so many of us just sort of shed that and enjoyed the feeling of what was happening with these 3 house posts from Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh being installed on the site of a church with permission, the power of that moment. And one of the carvers, Chief Floyd Joseph of Squamish, said to us, "Oh, it's okay that it's snowing and the wind's blowing this way. It means for us it's a auspicious day that our ancestors are here." And it was just like, of course, the day it was snowing as hard as it was for those 2 hours these were being installed was that it just was so powerful and beautiful. And we just continually are gifted with these stories on and on and on again. And one of these really, to me, just feels like that sense of belonging that we don't take lightly here. I also want to just highlight as well when we talk about belonging, when I say who is included, who is included, and how we don't judge. And I want to talk about the safety of worship too and belonging, and just really elevate the United Church right now, and really what I've been experiencing and witnessing certainly this past year. This was a big year for us visiting communities of faith. We went to at least 12. We've been to 20 in the last year and a half. And just time and time again, the hospitality of so many people in the United Church welcoming First United in. It's part of the church to hear more about the stories. And I'm not going to totally take you to church today, but I'm going to kind of. I started preaching again this year. It had been, I took a couple decades off. That's a different toast talk. But I started doing it again this year, and it has been such an honor. And one of the first verses I was given in the liturgy to do a reflection on was John 3:1, where it talks about filling the valleys. And I really took that as a metaphor when I talk about the downtown east side of one of struggles and strengths, that we know about the complexities and the issues here, and yet the strengths that are here, especially when it comes to senses of belonging, where people are welcome without stigma. And this verse is about leveling the valleys, or leveling the mountains and raising the valleys to create the smooth passage. And I see that smooth passage as a highlight of equity. And at the heart of equity is belonging. And I don't take that lightly. And whether or not you're in the church, from the church, not of the church, we welcome everybody here. And that's what's so special about First United. We'll continue to be the church of the open door. And even we're referenced as the living room of the downtown east side. That's how comfortable people feel here. Like, we hold that honor and that title. That is sacred, to be gifted that credibility and that trust from this community to be called the church of the open door and the living room of the downtown east side. So no matter what location we're in, what our impact is, how we serve, we're here for a community, and you are a community too. You're part of this story, and your presence, your support matters. And in that spirit, I just want to end by saying, of course, all are welcome here, no matter what faith you are, no faith, where you live, what your income level is, because our work is about leveling mountains, filling valleys for smoother passage towards thriving communities for everyone. And you were also part of that and that journey with us, and just celebrating this past year with all of you, and how much you make us feel like we belong in the work that we're doing as well in this community. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Amanda. Moving on to justice. In justice, we took action through our legal advocacy and law reform programs. We provided direct client support to over 1,600 people, or rather in over 1,600 cases. We hosted 12 housing rights workshops to help people know their rights and access justice. We made 5 legal submissions to the BC government. Our staff also showed up to City Hall and spoke up for renters' rights, because when we have strong policy protections, we can prevent homelessness and displacement. But to talk more about our legal advocacy work, I'm pleased to introduce and pass it over to our advocacy manager, Michelle Bida. Are you here, Michelle? I haven't seen you. Is Michelle on the call?
Katie, I don't think Michelle has joined the Zoom yet.
Oh, okay. I'm so sorry, folks. I'm sure it's just a brief technical difficulty. Sarah Marsden, are you on the call?
I'm here. I'm just trying to reach Michelle right now.
Sarah, would you mind sharing like just one story, one success from the advocacy team's work this past year?
Yes.
Putting you in the hot seat?
Yeah, absolutely. So one story I can share that I'm really excited about. So we've done a lot of work around landlords' use evictions. It was a big focus in our eviction mapping work, and this was a huge issue. It was displacing a lot of people. So we've had a lot of work in that area, but one thing we just did for the first time is take a case to court on this issue. So we had a low-income tenant who had gone to the residential tenancy branch and won because their landlord did a bad faith eviction, evicted them for no good reason. They went to the RTB, they won, and then the landlord took that to court to get it appealed. And previously, like that person would be lost at court, would have no opportunity to represent themselves or to have a lawyer. And we were able to provide legal representation for that person. So it's kind of a growth moment for us in advocacy to be able to offer some court services as well. So that's something it's one thing I'm really excited about right now.
Thanks so much, Sarah. Really appreciate that. And yeah, like I said, in the annual report, we have a lot more detail, a lot more stories of these great successes. So I definitely encourage you to read the annual report and share in how we've been able to uphold and continue to pursue justice together. So on to the financials. We are so happy to share that we ended the year with a surplus of $125,000. And this was our 5th straight year of being in a surplus position. It feels so good to be in this really, really strong environment. And I think it demonstrates our commitment to community, our discernment with financial management, and very importantly, the dedication of so many of you are incredible donors. I know many, many, many of you have given generously to keep our doors open, to keep our programs running, and are really helping us to turn our vision into a reality every day. Last year, we had over 2,300 individuals step forward as donors. We had over 400 people as monthly donors with gifts ranging from $5 a month to $1,000 a month. And the figures here are just for our operating budget. Fundraising for our redevelopment through our First Forward campaign also continued. And we closed out the year with over 33 million raised for our new building, which included 2 absolutely transformative gifts of $1 million each, one from the Audain Foundation and one from the North Family Foundation. And so many of you participated in our Buy a Brick campaign, buying bricks for yourself as gifts at Christmas to support the reality of this new building. We had over 700 bricks sold during the year. What I want to say is each and every single one of you provide the foundation from which we do our work. I've been fundraising for about 16 years now, and I've said this to a few people, and I mean it. I've never experienced a community of supporters like First United's. I hear so many stories of generations of families who have stood with us. I see people mobilizing their networks and their communities of faith to get involved. I see people wanting to be a part of something good, of making a positive difference, and who believe that our vision of a neighborhood where every person's worth is celebrated and all people thrive is possible. And especially, I think, with everything that's happening in the world now, that kind of faith and determination in what's possible and the good that exists in the world, it really lands with me. And I find it so inspiring and so motivating. All we can say is thank you. I don't say it lightly when I say that I'm honored and I'm humbled by your collective and your individual generosity and your belief in us. And just thank you so much on behalf of all of our staff, our board, for standing with us. And to really drive home what you help us do. I know I've been, going through stats and sharing stories, but we created a short film last year that really talks about the impact of our work, because that's what we're here for. We're here for impact. So I'm very happy, very excited to share the short film with you. It's about 11 minutes or so. Enjoy.
I love talking about this community. I love talking about the downtown east side. When we talk about the downtown east side, I mean, so clearly the complexities of this neighborhood are so apparent. We often call it a place of struggles and strengths. But before we ever get into the struggles of this community, we need to highlight its strengths. The cultural and artistic contributions of this community are incredibly beautiful. The activism in this community to mobilize together, to come together to shape and inform policies that can change lives, save lives. This community that's so resilient, this community that's so welcoming.
I have family members who aren't from this neighborhood, and they would say, lock your doors when you're down there. When we first moved here when I was 16. And, you know, it's funny, it's ironic that I come to walk these streets and feel actually safer down here than anywhere else. You know, because down here people get me. Down here, I always say, this is where I grew up.
Everybody looks out over everybody, you know, it just says hi, you know, in passing, you know, just like, hey, how you doing, man? Right?
In the downtown east side, it's more like karmic. It's more pay it forward, if you will. If you take care of someone one day, even if the other person doesn't know, it'll come back down to you another way.
Those are its strengths. We definitely recognize alongside this, of course, are the struggles. You know, the absolute homeless crisis that we see before us, the criminalization of poverty, the racialization of poverty, the politicization of poverty, where we actually say grief is a constant companion, because people die every single day here of an overdose. We have been in this community 140 years, and we are led by a vision where we want to be a neighborhood where the worth of every person is celebrated and all people thrive. And in order, we believe, to get there, we're led by these guiding principles that we say are dignity, belonging, and justice. And these aren't just empty words.
So when I think of dignity, I think of like along my story and my path down the downtown east side, I was often like really scared to go into resources or any support services or to the drop-in or to get a free dinner, because I was always taught that that was shameful and that was something you only did if you really needed it. And I used to pretend that I didn't need it, and they're like, do you need food? Do you want something to drink? And I said, yes, I do. I'm really, really hungry and I haven't eaten today. And it had been like a whole day I hadn't eaten. And that was my first meal, and I was so appreciative of it. So appreciative. And to me, that's kind of the way that interaction is what dignity means to me.
When we say dignity, what we mean is that somebody's daily needs are met with their human rights. So things like access to water, shelter, food, harm reduction. That's part of dignity.
It's not Skid Row, you know, this is the community. And it's, you know, everybody here loves their community and do whatever they can to keep it a community. You know, and the services that are down here, is that, you know, it's awesome to see how people progress instead of regress.
Oftentimes what people don't see is that there's a community down here. There's a place where people feel like they belong for once in their whole life. Like, you know, I never felt like I belonged anywhere my whole life. My whole life. And then I found belonging with those people like Tia and Kelly, Too Tall Michelle, One Tip Michelle. I got to throw her name in there too. They were really kind people. And oftentimes people don't see that there's good people down here that are doing some good things and that are teaching each other how to keep ourselves safe.
When we say belonging, what we mean is spaces and places to come together and to gather where you're not judged, where there isn't stigma. You know, where you can come and you can worship how you want. You can come, you can maybe even laugh. Spaces where you're not shooed away.
Belonging is, something as simple as going to Oppenheimer and hanging out, right? Seeing how many people that I know, and being able to say hello. Going to Crab Park, I used to take my dog down there, right? And toss the ball for her down there. She loved it.
This park, it was redone. This park just recently opened again under renovations, and it's just such a great example of this community needing this type of social infrastructure for families and caregivers and people who come and hang out here. And this park, it's beautiful, and just really in our work, like myth busting, basically, that beautiful things in the downtown east side stay beautiful. When we say justice, what we mean is really trying to restore our relationships with each other and our systems, even if that means breaking those systems, those cycles of oppression and poverty that we see day in and day out in the downtown east side.
Equality is the big one, right? When it comes to justice, being treated fairly and equally, no matter what the circumstance is.
If we're talking about justice here, we're talking about better health care. We're talking about housing.
Housing doesn't make sense, right? Sometimes the policies sometimes don't make sense. It's a big topic, but the one I see that struggles the most are those people who are going through those transitions in their life. And their options are to look for their own or apply for social or government housing, which is long list. 5 years. I was quoted at BC Housing, 5 to 10 years. I'm like, that's a prison sentence. 5 to 10 years. That's not a housing list,
Someone asked me the other day, so what is the answer? How do we fix this? And I was just like, well, if what we have is a homeless problem, having a home.
Well, we needed to redevelop at our site. The other building was literally falling apart. And although it was well worn, it was so beloved. So we like to honor its history too. But we have embarked on, of course, a very ambitious redevelopment project to build 11 stories, 7 floors of Indigenous, social, and supportive housing that is deeply affordable. And then there's 4 floors of First United services for the residents above and the wider community. I can't get over this view. The whole reason that there's a fight for this neighborhood with, so many developers and folks is because when real estate is finite, this is one of the last places really to develop with a waterfront view like this. So when I see this view, I'm so heartened that people of low income get to enjoy Vancouver the way we should all deserve to. However, it makes me worried for the ongoing fight that we have in this neighborhood to protect it. Because we need to have places of sanctuary for people living in poverty. But what this building and walking through here today and being in one of these units, my initial reaction is just dignity. That people can live in a space with a self-contained kitchen and bathroom and being in a 1-bedroom and not in this micro unit with 300 square feet. This actually has, over 400 to 500 square feet in these units is actually what we should be doing for each other. What we're looking at here is Deborah Sparrow, Musqueam artist, amazing celebrated local artist doing important work. We commissioned her to do this brick pattern. And what I love to underscore so much about the importance of art, not just to make people feel like they belong, makes things beautiful. It's just that in this social housing project that we're doing, so often, we don't have to incorporate art for-profit developments too. So like only rich neighborhoods get pretty things? Well, I don't think that's cool. So in this project, we made a really huge concentrated effort that we also wanted this building to be beautiful as well. In addition to that, this project really speaks into what we believe is reconciliation in action, and that's why we have commissioned only artists for the exterior of our art that are from host nations, which in Vancouver is the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh. We are the church of the open door, where we welcome all folks in. And that type of social infrastructure that we're building that ranges from places to go to the bathroom, to have showers, places to eat, places to gather, places to worship, places to heal, a legal clinic, day sleeping. You know, we're also having it heating and cooling. So if there's another heat dome or just a regular hot day in the summer, there's actually air conditioning. Like, that's what we're talking here. I'm not oblivious to what is happening in this community. Yet we need to storytell more about that type of generosity and love for the stranger and treating our neighbors with dignity and respect. I mean, this is the stuff I see. This gives me hope. If we can do this with each other in these situations, then I know that other people in our communities and cities can start saying yes to what we know are the solutions to end homelessness and to end the overdose crisis. We need to lean in to having less stigma, and we need to lean in and having more love for each other.
Oh, I have seen that video a few times now, and it never gets old. I really, really love that. And I hope you guys got a lot out of that too, that you can see what we're getting at when we do what we do. Yes, it's about serving people. Yes, it's about our individual programs, but it goes so much deeper than that. And it's really that core of dignity, belonging, and justice. And so thank you for making that possible. So we've gone slightly over time now. Apologies for that. But just to wrap us up, a couple of quick announcements. We're still recruiting for volunteers. Like we said at Toast Talks in the fall, we need about 200 volunteers a week when we open our building, and we would love for you to join us. We're going to have so many different ways for you to help, whether it's in our dining hall or serving snacks and coffee in the cafe or helping people with wayfinding. We have tons of options. We're going to train you really well, make sure we have a comprehensive training process so you feel really confident and prepared for whatever you're doing. One of my colleagues will pop a link into the chat for where you can go to sign up to become a volunteer. So follow that link. Or if you have questions, you can get in touch with Mercedes Dumphy, our volunteer manager, at volunteers@firstunited.ca. Redevelopment update. It's going well. We're in the home stretch. So like we talked about, the house posts are up now. Some of the exterior panels by Mac Paul are up, and we're well on track. We should get occupancy in late April. We're going to do a gradual move-in through May, and our doors will be open in June. We don't have a completely confirmed date yet. As soon as we do, we will certainly tell you all, but we're still on track for spring, looking like we're going to have doors open in June. And then lastly, like I said, we're going to follow up with our AGM at 5:30. It's taking place over Zoom, but in a different Zoom room. So one of my colleagues will also pop that link into the chat. It should also exist in the email that you got right before Toast Talks that gave you the link to this meeting. There should be a different link there. So click through to that and definitely join us for AGM. And we're going to share some more wonderful updates. But thank you all so much for coming here, for being here, for joining us. It's so nice to see so many of you. Thank you for helping us get through another year so successfully. Deep gratitude for each of you. And I hope many of you will log into the AGM Zoom room. Thanks, everyone. Take care.